Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon to some of you. This is Lisa Schwartz. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a longtime friend of the Academy, Mr. Blaine Bryant, here to talk to us about the service management transformation at BMC. I've heard bits and pieces of this, and I am really very excited to have Blaine talk about the challenges and the challenges that they overcame. So Blaine, I'm gonna throw that right over to you. You ready to go, sir?
Absolutely. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
going to collect questions. So please send in your questions while Blaine is speaking. And we've carved out time at the end of the webinar to be able to answer those questions with Blaine. Also, we are having some technical difficulties at the moment, but we are getting Blaine's presentation loaded to the website as well. We will re-put the link in chat once we verify that it is working correctly. So that's all my housekeeping. Blaine, to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. And I want to thank you for joining me today. And I want to thank Lisa Schwartz and all of my friends at Itsm Academy for putting on this event where like-minded ITSM professionals can come together to share our lessons and experiences. It is in this spirit that I'm here today to share with you our service management journey at BMC Software. This presentation is very much an art of the possible story rooted in achieving business outcomes through the application of ITSM practices, supporting technologies, and above all, our primary focus on our people. Before we get into the presentation, I just want to take a minute to introduce myself and BMC as a company. I'm a senior director in BMC's internal IT services governance organization. I have accountability for our service management office, our enterprise portfolio management capability, and our IT finance group. So I'm responsible for all aspects of IT service management and financial performance of BMC's IT organization. I've been with BMC for about 10 years. And prior to that, I've worked in software and internet services, financial services, chemicals manufacturing, and consulting services industries. I consider myself a lifelong learner, holding the certifications listed on the right. I reside just west of Houston in a suburb called Katy, Texas, with my wife and 2 sons, and I enjoy road cycling, indoor climbing, and cooking. Next are a few quick slides on BMC software. BMC has been around for over 40 years, delivering solutions in the 7 core competencies you see listed. In short, we help the world's largest companies manage and automate large-scale IT operations to deliver modern digital services that provide value to their customers. So IT service management is very much in our DNA. BMC is just over 6,000 employees globally and has presence in 38 countries around the world. We are headquartered in Houston, Texas, with major R&D centers in Santa Clara, Tel Aviv, and Pune, India. And just quickly, a few other company highlights. We have over 550 patents, about the same number of partners servicing companies ranging from mid-sized enterprises to 84% of the global 100. We have over 10,000 customers worldwide, are about $2 billion in revenue and growing, and have a strong investment in our product and innovation portfolios. Okay, taking a quick look at our agenda, we'll touch on how we organized for digital service management, how we think of service management excellence. We'll look at ways we've optimized our workloads and leveraged investments in automation. Then I'll share with you some impactful business outcomes we delivered. And then we'll wrap with an overview of the results of our digital service management efforts. And then hopefully we'll have a little time for Q&A at the end. I'm pretty sure we will. So diving right in, here's a high-level look at our organization structure, starting on the left with our Office of the CIO, which focuses on admin support for our executives, creative services, adoption and change management, and communications for IT. Most importantly, it is the point of coordination for what we call our Customer Zero program, which articulates the value realization story for how we utilize our own products while providing critical feedback to our R&D organization with an accent on developing new product use cases. Next, we have our business enablement team, which is our BRM function, or business relationship management, right? Consolidating all business-facing functions in one org. Then we have our solutions delivery organization that consolidates all of our application delivery practices in one organization with a focus on Agile and DevOps practices. Next is our enterprise cloud and communication services group, which delivers our modern data center, cloud, and application infrastructure capabilities. Then we have our service governance organization, which is where I sit, combining all governance functions like InfoSec, IT GRC, our PMO, our SMO, and IT finance groups that I lead. Lastly, we have our service support organization that is comprised of our NOC, our service desk functions, and end user field support services. Our mission is to be central in supporting BMC's autonomous digital enterprise strategy, which is defined by the following 5 tenets. We deliver a transcendent customer experience with a focus on personalized services and experiences. We leverage automation everywhere we can to drive operational efficiencies and to focus our brightest minds on innovative work. We execute in the context of enterprise DevOps for speed and flexibility to ensure we are responding to our customers and the market quickly. We are a data-driven business leveraging data sources for predictive business insights, and we must always be secure with adaptive cybersecurity focused on DevSecOps, excuse me. So let's talk about what service management excellence means in this context, as it's foundational to the ADE strategy. First, let's define the Service Management Office and its core capabilities. Our SMO focuses on delivering business-centric IT services with an accent on value realization. This means proactively defining and managing the digital business services and the enabling technologies that support them. We then proactively manage change awareness and adoption because, of course, everything is always changing. It also means that we must establish IT service management standards and methods. We must continually educate and train our resources on IT service management practices and principles. We must measure and report on service performance and business outcomes, and of course, leverage these measurements to inform our continual improvement initiatives and prioritize our improvement efforts. With the SMO defined, then let's look at our service management imperatives. We have worked closely with the other pillars in IT to shift from legacy IT mentalities to modern service-oriented approaches. We provide technology as a service instead of just delivering technology. So many DevOps efforts, even today, are still stuck on the left side of this, just rapidly delivering without a thought for how the service experience will be provided. We focus on being a glass box to the business, or in other words, a spirit of openness and transparency. We run on modern cloud or hybrid platforms. We strive to continually be a value driver instead of just a cost center. We must always manage to predictable levels of capacity and costs. Right? No one likes surprise SAN capacity purchases or cloud spend run amok. We must always understand our sources of demand, constantly having our finger on the pulse of where the business is going, and laying in capabilities to meet future demand. When you roll all this together, you drive much healthier conversations and relationships rather than being caught flat-footed or being viewed as lagging behind by your business customers. So in this context, we feel strongly that service management is foundational to every digital business, and whether it's recognized or not, every business is now digital. So service management excellence at BMC IT is built on these focus areas, starting at the top with service excellence. We must have a service-minded culture, competence management so that our employees have the right skill sets to be successful, and we must deliver personalized service. We must understand the user and the importance of the services they consume. We must focus on process excellence, carefully assessing process maturity and readiness for automation, and making data-driven decisions on improvement. Notice we start our automation efforts with process and not the other way around. right? Proactive service management driven by predictive analytics so we can prevent incidents and problems before they become visible to end users or impact a critical business process. And of course, staying true to the fundamentals of always working to reduce recurrence of incidents and problems. We deliver a modern change management practice that leverages standard change models and automation to enable agility, supporting our DevOps practices and CI/CD pipeline, while also ensuring high-risk changes receive due scrutiny and care. We provide social and community-based service management, leveraging social media service channels and knowledge and information management to drive self-help capabilities and chatbot use cases. Our BRM capability is critical to feedback management and voice of the customer input. It also drives requirements management for our large capital IT projects and provides views on customer experience used to inform our decisions on service and technology improvements, which is a great segue to CSI, where we measure our performance, identify and prioritize improvements, and report on the effectiveness of our improvement efforts. And then lastly, we have our enterprise portfolio management capability, which in my mind really articulates service strategy and investment that then drives design, transition, and operation. It encompasses our IT advisory committee, which I co-chair with our business enablement leader, and is a committee comprised of a couple dozen VPs representing BUs and functions throughout the enterprise that provide input to our work intake pipeline and validate our active project portfolio priorities so that the business and IT stay aligned left to right and top to bottom with respect to where our next CapEx dollar is best allocated and what our limited resources should be working on to enable the business strategy and deliver on key business objectives. So if I was to take everything I just said and put it into one picture, it would look something like this. We have a standard plan, build, run operating model across the top, broken into key activities of alignment, intake, prioritization, planning, delivery, and value realization. Starting on the left, we then have strategy development and innovation management process areas informed by feedback loops from service delivery and operations. From these, we develop a project initiation request backlog to identify service improvement requests or new service requests. These feed our portfolio intake processes where we scope, prioritize, estimate, resource, and fund our work. Once we have satisfied all of our prerequisites for solution definition, vendor management, data governance, resourcing, funding, prioritization, information security, etc., then and only then do we approve work for execution. We do all this work upfront to ensure everyone is aligned on what we are building and how we are building it, so we don't get bogged down mid-project with questions and issues that could be addressed ahead of time. This ensures that our most valuable resources stay focused on what they do best. Once we have constructed, deployed, and tested the new service, we release it into steady state operations with all the warranty aspects of the service considered as part of the upstream solution design and transition activities. All of this is enabled and supported by methodologies across the bottom there that we have stitched together to leverage the best from each. So Six Sigma and design thinking practices inform our approach to innovation and solution strategy. TOGAF and PMI inform our requirements and agile project management practices. We leverage Scale Agile framework and DevSecOps practices and principles to help govern how we design, build, and deliver and secure solutions. And ITIL plays the coordinating role to ensure service strategy, design, transition, and operation deliver with an accent on business outcomes and value realization. The idea is that each area has the latitude to operate how it needs in order to deliver and coordinate while providing guidance at each critical point of transition so that there is just the right amount of governance and continuity to deliver effectively and efficiently to the customer. Let's put this into action by taking a look at how we define a digital service. We start first by looking at the business services that are required to run the business. This is the logical layer. We then discover all of our configuration items and their relationships, including how they communicate with each other, leveraging our discovery scanning tools. This is the physical layer. Then we leverage the CI data from our discovery scans to define technical services in our CMDB. Once the technical services are defined, we then map those to the business services so we can understand the impact any CI has on a business capability or process. Lastly, we map our cost data to the framework so that we can understand the cost of each service, the value it provides, and begin to identify opportunities for cost optimization and future value realization. This high-level framework delivers so much critical value and capability for any IT organization and is at the heart of IT service management capabilities. It is through this that we can do change impact analysis to understand the risk to technical and business services of a planned change. We can gain critical insights into physical asset inventory and software license management compliance. We can understand which technical services and business capabilities are impacted if a network module in the back of a blade chassis goes out. We can understand how to prioritize our remediation efforts should we be hit with a day zero security exploit. So this is critical to our security incident response process. We can quickly answer budgetary questions or which items in which physical location so that we can optimize our tax expenses. We can quickly assess to design and implement new solutions by better understanding our current landscape. We can better forecast organic network compute and storage growth through demand and capacity management so we don't end up with surprise impacts to our budget picture. We can prevent impacts to customer experience by understanding abnormal performance conditions and remediating them before they become noticeable or impact business processes. I could go on, but let's take a look at how this works in a simple example. As you see here, we have defined our critical business capabilities and services. Across the top, we have our enterprise value chain whereby we develop strategies to market, sell, service, develop, and support our software and services to our customers. Underneath, we have our BU verticals and their critical capabilities. Then we have our operations management. Then our back office functions with everything supported by IT management and secured by our InfoSec capabilities on the right. This is all of our most critical business services and capabilities articulated in a single placemat, and these are then defined in our CMDB with business owners and other supporting detail. Next, we've defined all of our technical services. Some call this an application portfolio, but we define it a bit more broadly to include infrastructure, authentication, security, and other management services. Each technical service is defined from configuration item information that is routinely discovered in our environments, monitored for any configuration changes, and reconciled into our CMDB so that our information is kept evergreen. Then each technical service is related to the critical business capabilities and services it supports. The keys to managing all of this is automation and cloud-capable discovery. So now we have all of these CIs discovered, defined, related, and mapped to technical services, with technical services mapped to business services. We are then able to run our global command center with only 3 resources per shift, with accountability for overseeing the performance and availability of over 64,000 VMs, 99,000 containers, and thousands of network nodes and endpoints, and yet are easily able to manage all of the alerts and events by leveraging event suppression for planned change events and maintenance windows, by utilizing automatic incident routing to ensure the correct technical resources and are engaged in the shortest time possible to restore normative functions, and by using intelligent events and automation wherever possible to perform closed loop processing of event information, corrective actions, and incident ticket documentation and closure. Here's an example. We can see in our NOC heat map that the unified communications and network technical service is in a red state at the bottom right. We also see that the sales management business service is also red. It's possible that these are related. So with one click, we drill into the unified communications and network technical service, which leads us to an adverse condition on the WAN, indicating a problem with our Verizon router in our Sao Paulo sales office. We can click one more time into that router to see details of the impacted node. In the details, we can see that an incident record was automatically created from a system-generated event and populated with operational details from both the technical service and the business service. This speeds time to response and recovery with the provider, and at the same time, the IT service manager that covers our relationship with the sales leader in Sao Paulo can proactively call the sales leader to inform them that IT knows there is a problem, we are working with the vendor, we have an open incident, and provide an ETA if available. Think about how powerful that is when the business has the sense that IT already knows what's going on and is all over it before anyone in the sales office can pick up the phone and call in to the help desk to report the issue. Operational excellence on this level drives credibility with the business like nothing else. Okay, let's talk a little bit about workload optimization. During the presentation introduction, I mentioned that investment in our people is our primary focus, and that automation is a key strategic driver of our autonomous digital enterprise strategy. Workload optimization is critical to how we approach these priorities. We get there through changing the nature of our work, shifting from reactive firefighting modes to proactive planning and execution of work. We then move the work down the stack while moving people up. This means ensuring we are matching the work with the right skill sets in the organization while developing the right skills at the right levels of the organization to improve our capabilities. Lastly, we proactively look for opportunities to eliminate work through automation. We invest in automation to take repetitive, mundane work off of people's plates so they can work on value-add items that are intriguing and stimulating and that drive innovation and productivity. The top left of this slide articulates the idea of moving work down the stack, matching tasks to the right skill sets at the lowest level in the hierarchy while investing in people and moving them up the stack, providing opportunity and career growth, while automating the routine and mundane wherever possible. The effects of this can be seen in the rise in CSAT and the reduction of MTTR at the top right. Below, we can see the percentage of incidents assigned to L1, L2, and L3 shift over time, with more work moving from L3 to L2 and L1. Lastly, the effects can be seen in the chart on the bottom left, where all of this has reduced cost per user-generated event ticket, where our level 1 cost is about 1/3 of industry standard, level 2 is about half of industry standard, and level 3 is about 25% less than industry. Added up, that has a dramatic effect on our operating costs and efficiencies, and above all else, how our people feel about their jobs. So many people have a fear of automation in that they think that they will be replaced by automation or that automation will take over their job. And on some level, that fear is very valid. After all, there aren't many people building out data centers, racking and stacking equipment, and being mesmerized by blinking lights and having their hair blown back by all the fans. Now we have infrastructure as code, and massive compute capabilities are provisioned in seconds and not weeks. We approach this a little differently, though. We see automation as a foregone conclusion. If you're not automating, someone else is, so you should have put down the screwdriver a long time ago and taken classes on managing and deploying cloud infrastructure. We view it as our responsibility to provide our dedicated employees the tools and access to resources to learn the latest in their disciplines so they can stay in front of these rapidly developing advancements. We use automation to help create the time and space for professional development while at the same time driving operational efficiencies and cost savings. It works like this. Starting at the top left, we invest in automation. When we automate, it frees up resources. When resources are freed up, they can participate in innovation and learning. They apply their learning and innovate ideas to our projects, services, and operations, which then drives value delivery. When they do that, we can capitalize their labor which is an offset to operating expense. This frees up more budget to invest in automation and professional development. This is absolutely measurable, and it creates a flywheel effect. On the right are some examples. We automated the steps to provision in multi-cloud environments, yielding a reduction of nearly 75,000 hours each quarter. Think of that for a moment, what that must feel like for the platform provisioning teams that used to do that work. We just took a big treadmill away from folks, and now they can catch their breath to work on things far more meaningful. Also, think about the improvements to service delivery for the folks requesting those environments. Next, we save nearly 2,000 hours each quarter by automating our releases. Our release engineers have a far less stressful reality and can focus on other opportunities for innovation, growth, and development. There are several other examples, and we included some small ones to make the point that you should automate anywhere you can find a sensible opportunity. It all adds up to really big stuff in the end, and it makes you faster, it makes you better, and it shows your people that you are invested in them rather than leaving their talents wasted on non-value add activities. This is how we put people first while driving automation wherever we can. Here's a practical example of how we leverage our own service management platform, Helix ITSM, with our Control M DevOps orchestration and TrueSight orchestrator to automate application releases with automated closed loop incident processing to log performed activities. In the last 20 days, we automated 387 builds, refreshed 42 environments, reassigned 64 responsibilities, and executed 85 password changes automatically. So 30,000 repetitive tickets automated and 7,500 hours of admin work eliminated. And we upskilled our employees and have them working on much more interesting things. Okay, let's talk about how we leverage our service management practices to deliver some tangible business outcomes. It used to be that the most critical business application was email, but we know that has changed since the advent of unified communications. The convergence of enterprise voice, unified messaging, email, and web conferencing have reshaped how we approach collaboration, virtual teams, global workforces, and business continuity. And yet, with the consumerization of IT, people have come to expect always on, always secure, rock solid performance and availability anytime and anywhere, even if while traveling through the air at 34,000 feet at over 500 miles an hour. You cannot be successful in delivering on this expectation without applying service modeling, service management, performance and capacity management, security management, and deliver it at a controllable operating cost, all while meeting the service level expectations. At BMC, our PBX is virtual and we don't have any handsets except our mobile devices. We can collaborate anytime, anywhere, whether in a plane, taxi, hotel, or customer site, and our service is always on. Prior to this deployment, our monthly teleconferencing bills were averaging $425K a month. That's over $5 million annually. Since this went live several years ago, we haven't seen a bill north of $20K a month. So that's nearly $4.8 million in savings every year while delivering modern digital services, enabling workforce flexibility and remote work capabilities, which have become critical to business resiliency in the COVID era. Our investments in these capabilities and associated service management disciplines resulted in a seamless transition to a remote work posture at BMC prior to the pandemic and ensured we were best situated to navigate the challenge. Several years ago, we consolidated our data center footprint, and while this story is a little old, it is still powerful in illustrating the capabilities of service management and its impact and the impacts it can have on our business. We started out with 36 data centers and lab environments consuming over 62,000 square feet of raised floor space and 1.6 megawatts of power, all driving 6.8 million in operating expenses annually. Within just a few years, we virtualized and consolidated down into 4 data centers, just 7,500 square feet, eliminating a full megawatt of power consumption and delivering another 4.6 million annually in cost reduction. This involved reducing, moving, and retiring thousands of systems over a 3-year period and was planned and executed without a single disruption to business processes. You simply cannot achieve this or anything similar without the application of key IT service management practices, namely configuration management, demand and capacity management, performance management, security management, service continuity, and change and release management. In the end, you need to be able to tell the value story expressed in dollars, so you can't leave out IT financial management. But this is an incredible use case of how you bring it all together to affect a really impactful business outcome. Now let's take a look at modern BMC multi-cloud reality. Delivering services as seamlessly as public cloud providers while managing the complexity of a typical IT organization environment is no easy task. The role of core IT will increasingly be to bring expertise around standardization, security, and management to the growing complexity of delivering multiple digital services. A user may be accessing a single service with a seamless experience, but behind that service is a latticework of providers across public, private, and hybrid clouds, third-party service providers, and corporate data centers. How do you maintain a service so that it can run across all these environments, remain compliant, secure, know who is doing what, and monitor performance of a single service in a complex ecosystem? It requires service-aware AI ops tools that can gather data from all of these sources to provide a single view of infrastructure costs and performance, multi-source cloud analytics, workload and service patch automation, and standardization of the environment for policy and compliance purposes. When it comes to software as a service, so much of what is really going on in the background is abstracted from what the customer can see. But corporate IT's customers, the end users of these services, will hold corporate IT accountable for the performance, availability, and cost of these services. In order to do this effectively from a service management perspective, you have to have the business and technical services defined as you see here, each having an IT and business owner, and each having performance and availability monitoring, and a proactive security review and cost optimization program. Our application portfolio is 87% SaaS. We also sell ITSM and IT operations management tools for a living. So the expectations from our users is that we must be world-class in managing and delivering such digital services. And we are. Through the application of modern agile service management techniques, we have come through several major catastrophic events without a single disruption to our business services. In 2017, we had Hurricane Harvey hit Houston, our corporate headquarters, as a Category 4 storm, dumping over 13 trillion gallons of water on the city, causing over $125 billion in damage. Luckily, our corporate headquarters office building was largely spared, except for some flooding in the basement levels. In 2018, however, we had a water main break on the 16th floor of our building, flooding every floor all the way down to the basement. This displaced our entire corporate headquarters overnight. We also had a major earthquake in Mexico City, a major monsoon flooding event that affected our largest site in India, labor riots, and of course, COVID. But given our investments in modern workplace, unified communications and mobility, and our digital service management strategy, we did not incur 1 minute of downtime on any critical business process or system throughout all of these major events in the past few years. Okay, lastly, we'll look at some measurable results from our digital service management journey. When you combine everything we talked about in terms of how to define business and technical services, how to measure performance, how to measure service health and service cost, you are then able to tell the story about service value for each and every service you are providing. Think about one of your toughest business customers for a moment. We've all had that experience when we've had an interaction with a demanding customer in a project steering committee meeting who is upset about a missed timeline, deliverable, or budget target, and they are openly venting in front of others about what has IT done for me lately, why can't they ever seem to get it right, on and on. If you're not consistently and constantly telling the value story of your IT organization, then you are surrendering the narrative to folks like this, and they will define the value of IT for you and for the rest of the business. Now, if you have regular service review interactions with this kind of information that articulates what the service is, what's included, what are the agreed service expectations, who are the users, what is it costing, what are the planned enhancements, and what is the current SLA performance. It positions you where you are telling the story and making regular deposits in the relationship bank with your key business stakeholders, and it leads to healthier conversations, relationships, and improved IT credibility because it evidences that IT understands what they are managing and that they know what to do about open issues and concerns. Most importantly, it creates the opportunity for your business stakeholders to not only understand what IT is doing for them, but to become a vocal supporter of IT when it comes time for budget planning and technology investment decision making. We do this as a matter of practice at BMC IT, and our customers love it. Through our proactive focus on managing digital services with an accent on continual service improvement, we have achieved the results you see here over the course of 4, now going on 5 years. The digital service, which has been our digital service management journey. I'm not going to read all these metrics to you, or improvements to you, but the end user community notices and feels an 84% reduction in aging tickets. They notice and feel a 54% reduction in MTTR, and they notice and feel a 98% incident resolution SLA. At BMC IT, we're very proud of our efforts, and they have not gone unnoticed. These are just some of the awards and recognitions we have received over the past few years. Our CIO, Scott Crowder, will be the first to tell you that winning the CIO 100 and CIO of the Year awards are not just about him, but rather it's about the high-performance IT team that he leads that delivers service management excellence, high-speed innovation, and accelerated customer value day in and day out. But of course, it's not just about winning awards. The most rewarding aspect of our journey is being part of a team that has delivered dozens of new modern digital services and capabilities to our business customers, while removing over $30 million of spend throughout our cost optimization efforts. Lastly, we will continue to pursue our service management journey by, number 1, focusing on the organization by putting people first in everything we do. Number 2, accelerating value delivery with an accent on agility and innovation. 3, giving people meaningful work and automating wherever possible. 4, always communicating the IT value story, having the resulting business value in sharp focus. And 5, optimizing license and subscription positions, keeping costs well managed and predictable. Nothing will blow IT's credibility faster than runaway cloud costs, surprise capacity purchases, or non-compliance with major licensing agreements. Okay. This concludes my presentation for today. I want to thank each of you for lending the better part of an hour of your valuable time, and I most sincerely hope you found this presentation worthwhile. On a personal note, I invite each of you to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn if you'd like to have a follow-on conversation about anything you've seen here or any other topic you think would be good to chat about. Now I'd like to open it up for any questions for the time we have left.
So Blaine, I knew that you guys were doing some amazing stuff, but that is very impressive. Can you flip back for me, please, to the first slide that talks about the reduction in MTTR and the difference in the industry standard numbers? Because I think looking at who's with us today, that's that's of real interest. Yeah. Almost, yes, this one. So I know that you said it already, but the MTTRs, that's so incredibly impressive to me. Can you, and I know the answer to this question in part, because if you now go to the next slide, you talked a lot about automation and how you guys did that. So if you could pop now to the next slide, please. Yes, thank you. So what was the impetus? What started this journey from where you guys, which was probably average to better than average, to where you are today? So what sort of, what's the story of how you guys said automation is the way to go?
You know, we're in the high tech industry, right? And we also are kind of a Gartner Magic Quadrant leader for ITSM tools. And so it's just very much in our DNA, right? Everybody in the building or any number of our buildings kind of just walks and talks technology, and automation is always, a part of that. That conversation. And so it's just very, very natural to us. But ultimately, what we found is, we're also a sizable company, and at any scale, a company is going to have inefficiencies. And so we're always thinking about how can we take routine, mundane, non-value add work out of the mix, and also, here's the other thing: if you're saddling your workforce with those sorts of activities, it's going to be hard to hang on to your people because they're going to go find something more interesting to work on, right? And in high tech industries, that's particularly critical because number one, your key differentiator in anything you do is your people, right? We're a knowledge based business, and the market forces for high tech resources are such that people who are really intellectually curious and want to contribute value and innovate, if they're not able to see how they can get that done in their current environment, or if they feel overly saddled with mundane work, they're gonna go look and make a change. And so it becomes part of our employee experience, really, to focus on ways that we not only can achieve operational efficiencies, but create that time and space and investment for people to develop themselves professionally and reinvest their learnings into our innovation process.
And when did the new CIO come on board?
Let's see, Scott Crowder's
Ish.
been around for at least 9 years or so. So it's been some time, and it's been an incredible journey. And this motion continues day in and day out. I mean, I just got off of our biweekly global managers meeting, and we showcase the winners of our hackathon competition, and just the spirit of innovation. Anybody with a bright idea and a way to solve a business challenge and an interest to bring it forward to and apply it, has the avenues, the support, and opportunity to do so. We encourage, invest in these sorts of motions, and when we have positive results and impactful business outcomes, we're sure to celebrate and appreciate that.
Well, and I love that it feels like from your presentation, your culture is very embedded in the employee experience. And we have a question around that. Can you speak to how you upskill folks, particularly those working in your SMO, to help them understand the many different frameworks you are leveraging and how they work together? And then the follow on to that, which we can do second or now, but did you have to battle the quote framework wars?
So some of that's ever present, but certainly we have our evangelists in different IT verticals. We have our agilists and our DevOps folks, and our design thinkers and our ITIL folks. And there's always a lot of healthy debate and conversation in the air, and that's that's all very healthy, as long as culturally you kind of have that commitment to one another to say, look, ultimately what we're on about in all these debates is arriving at the most effective and efficient way of coordinating with each other with a focus on delivering value. And we've it gets back to one of the earlier slides where I said we borrow a lot from a number of different methodologies, kind of depending where in the value chain we are. And with ITSM and ITIL playing a governance overlay, and again, we we happen to be blessed that we sell these technologies, ITSM tools, because that kind of instills it in our DNA to begin with, right? We kind of have to be all about that. But I can imagine in many other industries, and especially ones I've worked in, right, that's not always on people's frontal lobe, right? It's not something that that's so easily adopted, and so there is an opportunity and challenge for IT service management leaders, SMO leaders, to obviously stay current for their own professional development, but evangelize the practices, the principles, the guidelines that ITIL puts forward without being a process crap, right? You have to make sure that in your approach, you don't come off trying to say, this is the panacea, the end all be all, this is the answer to all our questions. But it is absolutely a guiding, helpful, value-driving framework that should be studied and taken advantage of and leveraged to the extent appropriate. And in terms of how to upskill folks in our SMO, I'll tell you, I'll put a shameless plug in for ITSM Academy. They've been outstanding, and they've been our go-to partner for training for the better part of 8 years. And so I owe a lot to their training and capabilities on a personal level. Almost all of my ITIL certifications have been through their classes, and we've put on courses for certainly our domestic teams, but they've been so good that even our folks in our India office are willing to stay up, at hours, for 4 days straight, between like 11 p.m. and 7 in the morning their time, just to attend these classes because they're so good.
Well, you make me blush. Thank you. Also, I love that you worked the word panacea into the response. While you were answering that for us, just because, curiosity is one of our main traits here at the Academy, we asked the question of the attendees that are with us, which of the following are you leveraging in your organization? And 100% of the 100 plus with us said ITIL. 89% DevOps, 67% Lean Six Sigma. It was multiple choice. 22% SRE, Site Reliability Engineering. And then an 11% of other. So you guys feel free to chat in. If I looked over, I could see. TOGAF and Prince 2 are coming in, and a couple of others. And then let me transition now to the next question for you, which is, sorry, there we go. Trying to get back to that page. Blaine, how long did it take you to get your tools populated with all that data? And I know what slide Greg's talking about. It's the CMDB slide, I think. When you said, and all this is in my CMDB, my eyes kind of did a cartoon character thing.
Yeah. Let me go back to that slide because it's a great question. And I will tell you the heavy lifting was really defining the business services, right? This work took probably 9 months and a lot of meetings with business leaders in each of these areas to really define what are these critical business capabilities and just get them inventoried, and then talk about who in the business and who in our IT BRM function are the counterpart owners in these areas, right? To me, this was really kind of the heavy lifting. On the technical services, I don't want to. I want to keep this practitioner level, right? But and not a sales pitch. But I have to. There's no other way to say it. Our discovery tools that do the scanning of the CIs is like really astounding. I don't care what you use, but you got to use something, right? And you have to be able to quickly inventory and refresh all of the CIs and how they talk to each other and how they relate to each other, right? You got to be able to do that quickly, several times a week, and in a cloud context. And our discovery tool does that, and then also defines the technical services, so we can kind of draw a circle around or whatever, and say this is what constitutes our BI service or our SharePoint service or whatever. It's made of these components, and then that is kind of reconciled and published into our CMDB automatically. So it took a couple years to get that to be where it is today in terms of data quality. And not that it was messy to begin with, but what we wanted to do was come up with processes whereby 95% of our information in our CMDB was maintained automatically without human intervention. And the other 5% is really constituted of new equipment and new services being deployed that our discovery tool doesn't yet have a detection pattern in its library to see. So, but then we can submit requests to get that developed, and it gets turned around in the next monthly release. So anyway, the heavy lifting is defining the business services, scanning your CIs and identifying them and kind of bucketing them into technical services is made really easy with our tools. And there's many other tools out there that do it. But then once you have that done, kind of the mapping in the middle where you take your technical services and align them to business services in your CMDB, doing that logically, that's a little bit of pick work, but it goes pretty quickly. I would say just doing kind of the ITSM piece of this, again, just discovering your physical layer, defining your technical services, defining your business services, and then relating your business and technical services. That, if done well, it's probably a good 18-month journey if done well. And what I mean by that is, don't just have a CMDB project for the sake of setting up a CMDB. Start with requirements. Make sure you understand what your key questions that you're going to try to answer are, and let that drive your architecture and implementation priorities.
Well, and when we
so lastly, just this is kind of an important point, the financial layer. One of the things we've done is within IT, we've set up our cost center hierarchy to match our technical service areas. So for example, we might have a technical service that's SharePoint, right? That's kind of the application and service and warranty aspects around it. But we also have a SharePoint technical service team, and it's got a team of people. And so our cost center hierarchy will have, SharePoint services in it, and we're able to bucket the costs associated with the tool, the licensing, the infrastructure, and the people, right? And when you map this financial layer to the rest of the service modeling, you're at what's called TBM, technology business management. There's providers in this space. ServiceNow has a capability. Apptio has a capability. You can do it yourself with your own BI tool. But when you're able to get to that level of maturity, you're able to have a conversation about the value of IT, which is what services am I getting? How are they performing? And what does it cost? So when you express your service model in dollar terms, then you're actually having a value conversation.
And that's exactly it. That's where I almost interrupted you, because I thought you weren't going to now talk about the financial layer. to me, when you were going through the presentation, it was striking when you talked about the financial layer, because there's so many organizations that don't even have a twinkle in their eye about how important that is for their programs, and the data that can be pulled from that, and as you said, with regard to the automation, just allowing people, saving money on something silly so that people can spend time and energy and focus on something that innovates and is exciting to work on. I think, I'd love to see, obviously we work with a lot of very large organizations, and even those that sort of from the outside look like they're really got it together, when we start working with them in their program, to me, a big component is always that financial layer, which isn't baked in. So how did you get, follow-on question from Greg actually, but how did you get the business leader buy-in? And I think that applies particularly to this financial layer.
Right. So yeah, and that was going to be my next kind of follow-on statement is, to TBM as a topic. It's a balancing act on this. So if you are in a company that has a well-instituted show back, charge back model, right, that is supported by the CFO organization in terms of how IT costs will be allocated back to the business units, and the business unit leaders accept that, right, by and large, then there's almost nothing to it but the work in terms of mapping your IT costs to your service model, and building an IT invoice, and show back or charge back capability. If you do not have an instituted show back, charge back, cost allocation model, and you go and try as an IT practitioner to go sell this to the rest of the business, it's going to be like pushing a wet noodle uphill. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it for your own good, but you have to kind of recalibrate the why. Why are you doing this, and what are you going to deliver, right? Because IT is not going to force a change on the rest of the organization on how it funds IT, right? Some organizations during budget planning process, it's just an annual event where there's a certain carve out from the revenue generating sides of the business to say, okay, this is how much we're going to rope off to fund IT, and then IT goes and manages their budget through the rest of the year. In other organizations, it's a chargeback model where the business pays for what it consumes, and IT is funded that way. And so you have to first really understand your environment there. In the first scenario, where it's just kind of an annual event, then your TBM implementation really is just for IT leadership to be able to answer questions about how it's spending its budget and its budget performance, and what are its cost optimization activities, which tends to be kind of maybe a once a year, maybe twice a year presentation that's going to put together by your IT finance director and CIO. In environments where you have a well-instituted show back, charge back, and cost allocation model, this can all be real-time, automated, and put into monthly IT invoices that go back to lines of business or operating companies, however the size of your enterprise portfolio.
It's awesome. So I'm going to just quickly, in case anyone needs to drop, thank you all so much for being with us today. Next month's webinar is actually something that was Donna saw presented at an ITSMF. It's with Gurav from the University of Dallas. And the topic is employability with IDLE 4, the new trends in the industry. And I'm telling you, when Donna Knapp thinks something is that good, we're on it. So we've reached out and asked him to present. We are going to start next month at 11:30 instead of our standing 11 a.m., which will be clear on the website. But so that will be Thursday, November 18th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And again, the topic, employability with IDLE 4, the new trends in the industry. As you guys know, when you drop off of, please stay, I think we have one more question, but when you guys drop off the webinar, there's going to be a place for you to put in suggestions for topics. Please do so. That is actually a large part of how we build our annual calendar for webinars. So if you do have to go, thank you very much for being with us today, and we'll see you all in November. And then, Blaine, it looks like we've got one question left, and I'm just trying to get back to it. What traction have you gotten in the marketplace with your Helix release? Is that something you can speak to?
I'm not prepared with statistics on that. What I can tell you is we're seeing double-digit growth across all product lines right now, and it's picking up quite well. And so we're pleased with how all of that's unfolding, and we seem to be hitting and exceeding targets. So that's about as much as I can say and I'm prepared for. If you're interested in having a deeper conversation on any of that, I can certainly connect you with some of our folks back at BMC that can take you in any direction and that you want to go on that. And if you're looking at Helix and want to get a demo or understand more about its capabilities, or very often, because I run our service management office. We in our IT organization and our customer zero team are very happy to engage on a practitioner level. It's not a sales call. It's just if you have deep technical questions about modules, how things work, how things integrate, how to implement, you name it. We can give you real life tech talk, gratis. We're happy to do that at any time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I got to say, Blaine, my instructors over all these years that we have had the privilege to train you have always said, oh, good, Blaine's in class with me. And, my operations team have always enjoyed working with you. And so, we really value you, but I'm stinking impressed with what you guys have done. I thought this was motivating, I think, for a lot of other organizations. And I just really appreciate you taking the time to talk us through it.
Well, now I'm blushing, and hearing that from you is golden. I mean, there's no higher praise in my mind. So thank you.
Well, I think we end here then, sir. Thanks again. I will talk with you soon.
All right. Be well. Have a great one ahead.
Yep, you too. Bye.
Bye.